Hi, today we will be talking about my best and worst TV, movie, and books of 2020. So, I just have everything listed on my phone because I would do the tier ranking thing, but I'm too lazy to do that. And I thought it would be easier to look through my Goodreads list and my Netflix watch history. So here we go. Okay. Let's first talk about the bad shows I watched this year, because surprisingly there's not a lot, since if I don't like the first episode I'm just not gonna continue with it. But there are some that I continue to watch just because it's addicting. Like how bad it is, it's just addicting. And one of those shows is Gossip Girl. That show is actually terrible. I mean, it's iconic and I do enjoy the messiness, but it is honestly all over the place. There's like some stuff that doesn't make sense, and I honestly don't know why Blair and Dan didn't end up together, because I thought they had more chemistry. Okay, I like a good enemies to lover story, so yeah, I think Dan and Blair should have ended up together. And honestly, Chuck was such a horrible guy. I don't know how people like him. Serena deserves better. Yeah, it's weird that I think Serena doesn't deserve Dan, but he deserves Blair. I don't know. It's a messy show, like I said. Oh, so then I watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the 3rd season, and that one was also really bad. I had high expectations for it because I did like the first 2. It was a bit cringy, but the 3rd one was like the cringiest one. It was really hitting like Riverdale level, and I hate Riverdale, so it was really hard to get through that season. But I'm hoping this upcoming season will be better, because I still love the vibe that it gives off. I just want it to get better. The next show I watched was Charmed, and it was the reboot one, and I watched it because my friend recommended it, and it was actually really good. I did enjoy it, although everyone says like the original is better. I don't know, I just like this one more, even though it is very like CW kind of formatting of the show. I think it was made by CW. Is it made by CW? Let me see. So I didn't even know that this show was produced by CW, but it is, and that makes more sense. But yeah, I liked it. It's okay. It's not the best show, but I enjoy like the magic of it. So yeah. And now to the good shows that I watched, because those made my 2020 more bearable. So the most recent show I watched that was really good was The Queen's Gambit, and oh my god, I loved that show. So I really appreciated the writing in Queen's Gambit and just the cinematography of it all, and then the costume design was so good. Honestly, the actress Anya Taylor-Joy, I think that's how you say her name, or that is her name, I'm not sure. She was just such a great actress, and I enjoyed her performance so much, even though her character was a bit like annoying at times, but she really executed it so well. And yeah, that show was so good. I thought I would get bored of it because I found out it was about chess. I was like, chess? But no, this made me want to learn how to play chess. So you should watch that one. That's a show that I highly recommend. The next best show I watched this year is The Haunting of Bly Manor. Okay, it is the best show I watched, but I do hate the ending because the gays can just not be happy. So spoiler alert, please do not watch this if you haven't watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. Danny basically dies at the end, and I didn't like that. I felt like it's just, why is it so hard to just let the gays live and be happy? Like, why is that so hard? I understand that like in The Haunting like anthology, it's really, most of the endings don't really have a happy ending per se. Like, it's somewhat happy but also not really, like it's a compromise. But I don't know, for this one I really just wanted Danny and Jamie to have a happy ending and like live together and grow old together, but we didn't get that, and I was so mad. But yeah, I do enjoy it better. It made watching that horrible adaptation anticipation of the turn of the screw, it made me forget about that, which is a good thing because I hated that movie. It's called The Turning. Watched it at the beginning of the year and it was the worst movie I watched, and I just knew 2020 was gonna get worse. So yes, I was like in a really big slump in terms of like watching TV shows, and I couldn't like find the perfect one to get me to like watch it until my friends forced me to watch The Good Place, and I just fell in love with it. I think the production is so good, and like the twists and like turns of it all is so unexpected, and I just love like the writing. It made me cry a lot, and that's so rare in a TV show. So spoiler, I think the best like part of it all is having Michael, a devil, try to be a good being, and he's purely doing this because he cares about his friends, and like that's such good writing. Like you would never expect that. Usually if a person is trying to turn into a new leaf, they usually make it like into a love plot line, like a romantic plot line, but in this one it's just purely out of his own goodness, and that made me like tear up so much in the show. It's so good. And then lastly, I think the only Korean drama that I got to finish this year is It's Okay Not to Be Okay, and thank God I finished that show because it was another good show that I really enjoyed and made me cry a lot. Recently I've been really picky with my Korean dramas. I tried getting into Crash Landing on You and I just couldn't. Like, it was so boring. I'm sorry, like I know a lot of the people I know really love that show, but I just couldn't get into it. Also, there's dogs barking outside, I'm sorry. I feel like I could relate to the main character, like the main girl. Not the way like she like projects, but just the way she struggles with like expressing herself. Like I really resonated with that. I really appreciate how the show really did like talk about a lot of mental disorders and how real it just got. And I think this is so important because in the Asian community especially, like mental disorders are really stigmatized, and that's kind of addressed in the show, and that's what really made me appreciate this show more. So if you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it. So yeah, I think that's all the good shows I watched. It's not a lot, so recommend me like really good ones if you have any recommendations. Although I am really picky, I will try my best. Like if you really think this is a really good show, then I'll probably try to get into it, just like how I got into The Good Place. So now on to the movies that I watched this year. I watched a lot of movies, but I wasn't able to list them all off. These are just the ones that came to mind. So let's start with the bad ones first. The next bad movie I watched is The Notebook. So that movie is terrible, but I did enjoy it still somewhat. Like it was a good bad, you know. Like I hate the writing and I hate like the lines, they're just really cringy. I kind of hate the plot, but I did enjoy the ending and I did cry. Like it was pretty obvious what was going on, like because it's a back and forth from future to present, and it was kind of obvious what was like happening. But what I enjoyed the most about that movie was the ending. That was the only part I enjoyed. Other than that, I didn't really like the characters. They were pretty toxic and pretty annoying, but the ending was really good. So for movies that were okay to me, there's Vivarium, I think that's how you say it. It's a psychological horror film or psychological thriller film. I was kind of bored most of the time, that's why I thought it was okay, but the ending part did freak me out a lot, and that's what made me feel like okay about it. Because when I first watched the trailer, I thought like, wow, this is a crazy concept. I really thought like it had a lot of potential, but I just think the ending was left a little too open-ended, or that we didn't really feel concluded, and most of the movie was just too repetitive and boring. So, and we did not get answers about what was going on, so that's why, like, it was an okay movie. It had so much potential, but it just felt empty at the end. So yeah. Another okay movie is Lady Bird. Now, I feel like a lot of people think this movie is like a really great movie, and I do agree. Saoirse Ronan is like one of my favorite actresses, but I thought like this movie was a bit underwhelming. I had really high expectations for it. I also do not like Timothy Chalamet. I don't know how to say his last name. Oh my god. I think he's so overrated because his acting in that movie was just so bland, and the pacing was just all over the place. Although I do like really like how it was an actual like coming of age movie. But yeah, I don't know, it was just really underwhelming to me. I expected more from it, although like Saoirse Ronan did have great acting, and so did the actress for her mom in that movie. I don't know, it was just underwhelming. That's all I have to say. And the next okay movie is the movie adaptation for All the Bright Places. So the next okay movie I watched is the movie adaptation to All the Bright Places. I thought it was okay. I didn't have high expectations for it, but I did expect Ella Fanning, I think that's the actress's name, to have like to execute better, but she just, I don't know, her acting was pretty bland in the movie, and the actor for Finn was really carrying it, although there was a lot of cute moments and I did cry at the end, so it was just an okay movie. The book, I would say, I'm pretty sure had a lot more and made me cry a lot more, but the movie is just okay. I didn't feel attached to any of them, and I feel like we didn't get as much insight compared to the book as what would happen with most movie adaptations. So yeah. So the next okay movie I watched is a horror movie, and it is Sinister. I watched it for Halloween and it was okay. I didn't feel scared or anything. I feel like the plot was pretty predictable. There were like a few good jump scares here and there, but yeah, I thought it was okay. I think I need to watch the second one so I can feel better about it. So I'm just gonna list them off because I'm pretty sure these are movies that you people probably think are also really good. So there's Parasite, and then there's Knives Out, and there's The Half of It. I thought that was a really good movie. And then there's Enola Holmes, and then #Alive. So those were like the best movies that I watched this year. I cannot like stop talking about how good the production in these movies are, and just how amazing the writing is, and honestly they're like the top quality movies. Like, they have everything that you would want in a movie: a beginning, a good twist if there is supposed to be a twist, and then a good ending, or if there's gonna be a sequel, like a good kind of foreshadowing for there to be a sequel. So yeah, those movies were like my top of the year. So now on to the best books and the worst books that I read this year. So far I've read a total of 42 books this year, and I didn't reach my goal of 50, and that's okay because this is the first year that I started getting back into reading, and I'm so happy that I joined back into the book community, because without you guys, like, I feel like my reading taste would have not changed and would have stayed the same, and I probably would have not discovered a lot of the amazing books that I read this year. So yeah, thank you to you guys. So on to the worst book I read this year. It is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I do not understand the hype with this book at all. I think Sarah J Maas has a lot of potential. I do find her writing really beautiful, but I don't think writing romance in the young adult like genre is the right way to go. I feel like if she's gonna write romance, then she should just write romance, like adult romance, because I felt so uncomfortable knowing that this book had that much smut in it. Like, it's not a lot, but like it is very detailed, so I don't understand why it's in young adult. I feel like it should have been like an actual adult book and they could have added more, especially since people hype up these books for the smut. So I do not understand why, because I didn't even get smut to like 70% of the book. Also, Feyre's character was just really unbearable. Like, I could not handle her and her whining and her perspective in general. It was just too much for me. So no, I did not enjoy Court of Thorns and Roses, and I'm sorry if you did. It's just not for me. The next worst book that I read for this year is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book was hyped up so much by book Twitter and like booktube, and I finally read it, and it is so bad. I enjoy E. Lockhart's writing, although I feel like they were trying to be deep too much. Like, it just felt like way too much metaphors or similes. Is that how you say it? I don't know. It was just a regular book, and the characters again were so unbearable. They are so privileged, and I just couldn't handle that. Like, again, I couldn't connect to any of the characters, and they weren't redeeming at all. And the twist that everyone is like saying is the best about this book was, yeah, really surprising, but it didn't save the book for me. I thought it did, but thinking back to it, reading this book was so boring. So no, I do not recommend this book, especially if you're trying to get into like mysteries. Do not read this book at all. Lastly, the worst books I read for this year was the Harry Potter series. Now, I read this because I was really trying to get back into reading, and you know, everyone usually says that the Harry Potter series is the book, or the Harry Potter series are the books that get them into reading. And so I attempted to finish it, and I didn't, because the 6th book was honestly so boring to me. I don't know why everyone says that's their favorite, because I could not get through that book. It took me 2 months to finish that one book, even though I think it was only about 600 pages and Order of the Phoenix was like 800 pages. I think what made me so uncomfortable is Harry's fat phobia. I don't understand why he has to have like a comment on his family's weight all the time. Like, I understand, like, they basically abuse him, but I was so uncomfortable about the fat phobia, and how the names of the characters of color that J.K. Rowling has in this book are very I don't know how to describe it, like what she thought. And for example, an Asian person's name would be, like, she named her Asian character Cho Chang out of all the names. So I don't know, the series is just not good. I thought I enjoyed it. I did love the movies. Like, the movies I thought were so good, and that's why I really wanted to read the books. But no, it's terrible, and I really don't like J.K. Rowling as a person. Now on to the good books. So the best books I read this year would be the Poppy War trilogy. I mean, these are truly the best books I've ever read, at least currently. Nothing can top it yet, but these books really got me back into reading. Like, I really wanted to find more books like this, and I feel like because I have such expectations to read another book like this again, it's caused me to be in another slump. But hopefully I can get over that. I think it's a bad decision that I'm reading Love Boat Taipei right now. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of funny and it's really easy to read, so it's not that bad. The next good book, or the next like best book I read of this year, is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I thought this book was so good. I did not expect to like it as much as I do now. I had very, very low expectations for it because I don't usually read historical fiction or like contemporary in general, but I enjoyed it so much because, spoiler alert, there is sapphic content despite the title of it being The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I feel like it was really such an accurate portrayal. And lastly, we have Patron Saints of Nothing. Now, this book made me feel seen as a Filipino. There's not a lot of books with Filipino representation, at least from back then. Like, I didn't feel represented at all, and I didn't even know there was a lot of Filipino authors, but now I've discovered a lot of them, and I am so happy to see books by Filipino authors on shelves. But I think Patron Saints Know Nothing is a really important book that everyone should read, just because of how it really addresses a lot of political issues, especially a lot of them are still happening right now in the Philippines. So this is like a really good way to educate yourself. It really puts you in a story of a family involved in what is going on right now in the Philippines. So that's like such an important read. So some honorable mentions that would have made it would be These Violent Delights, Clues to the Universe, Clap When You Land, Where Do Dreams Descend, A Song of Wraith and Rune, and One by One by Ruth Ware. So yeah, that is all the media, books, TV, film, everything I consumed in the year 2020 that kept me going. I hope you enjoy this video and hear me ramble about all my thoughts on everything that I consumed. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please, again, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Especially, you can see like my 2020 recap post on my blog. Make sure to go like that one too. I know 2020 was such a rough year for everyone, but I hope 2021 becomes better to you all. I am manifesting you all some positive and good energy for the next year. We are all gonna make it through it just like we did this year. So yeah, goodbye.